Hey Sparkers, in today's video I'm going to demonstrate the 4 clean amp models. I'm going to show a little bit about how they sound different, the differences between the 4 of them. They're all based on sort of classic clean amp models, or amps rather, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between them, and I'm going to also play them for you so you can hear the difference. What I've done is I've created 8 tone configurations, 2 for each of them. One is a sort of a even settings, so all of the dials are set to 5 in that case. So the gain's at 5, bass, middle, treble, and volume, they're all at 5. So that's going to give you a baseline comparison for all 4 amps. You'll hear them all at sort of a very even middle of the road configuration setting. And then the other 4 that I created were my own custom configuration for each of the 4 amps, kind of based on what sounds good to me for each of those amps. Obviously that's subjective, but it should also highlight the differences between the 4 amps, and that's the goal here. So we'll go ahead and start off with the Silver 120, which is based on the JC Roland 120 amp. And this is sort of meant to be, it's a kind of a clean, very pristine, kind of a blank canvas sort of a sound. It's not going to add any sort of tone or colorization. It's going to be very sort of dry sort of a tone, and it's meant to sort of accept, a lot of what people do is they'll add pedals to this. They'll use this amp as a pedal demonstration amp because it doesn't really color the tone at all. So you're going to hear a pretty clean tone here. So let's go ahead and play a couple of chords. This is on my Fender Stratocaster on the middle pickup position. I'll play it on some of the other pickup positions as we go too. So here's a couple of chords. So that's a pretty flat sounding tone there. Obviously with all the dials set to 5, you're not going to hear much, but you get the idea there that's a very sort of clean tone. It's not doing any warmth or saturation or anything really at all. It's very sort of raw guitar sound, right? So here's how it sounds on the neck pickup position, and here's the middle again, and then the bridge. So that's how that works. Sounds, and then we'll show the Blackface Duo, and this amp is modeled after the Fender Twin Reverb series back from the late 60s, the 65 through 68, kind of the original Fender Blackface model. This is kind of a vintage Fender sound that they were after with this one. So again, this is on the middle pickup position, and I'm just going to play those couple of chords, and this is the even configuration, so all 5s. So you kind of start to hear that sort of vintage Fender sound with this one. A little more color and a little more warmth than that JC Roland had. So here's the neck pickup position, middle again, and then the bridge. So that. Blackface Duo. Now we're going to do the AD Clean, and this is based on the Orange AD30 amp. So this is kind of a vintage British tube amp sound to it. You're going to hear quite a bit more warmth and colorization of the tone here on this one. So here's how that sounds. So that's a little bit more kind of beefy, quite a bit more tone and warmth there. More character, right? So here's how it sounds on the neck pickup position, middle, and then bridge. So hear that sound a little bit different. It's got quite a bit more character to it. And then finally we have the Match DC, and this is based on the Matchless DC 30 amp. A lot of people credit this amp with sort of kicking off the boutique production amp models in the 90s. But this is kind of based on a vintage sort of Vox tube sound. That's kind of what they were going for when they made this series of amps. But you're going to hear even more warmth and tone on this one than you heard on the Orange AD30. So check this out. This is the middle pickup position with the Matchless DC. So you can hear quite a bit more depth and tone there. So I'm going to switch back to the neck pickup. This is the middle pickup, the bridge. So there, as you can tell, there's quite a bit of character on the Match DC. It's got a little bit more warmth there. So now I'm going to show you the custom tones that I did for each of these 4 amps. So I've got 4 of those set up. So let's go down here to my Silver 120 custom. And again, this is just a slight customization. I'll show you the settings that I did on here. So it's about an 8 or so for the gain, about a 6 for the bass, a 4 for the middle, about a 7 or 8 for the treble, and a 7 for the volume. So this is how my tone sounds. So it's still a pretty clean, kind of even blank canvas style sound, but I added some voicing there, some depth, right? So, and then this is with the neck pickup position. So kind of more meaty, kind of more beefy, the middle pickup position. Bridge pickup position there. That's my custom configuration for the Silver 120, and then here is the Blackface Duo custom sound. So again, you're going to start to hear more of a classic Fender tone here. Oop, that's the bridge pickup position. Let's start with the middle. Hear the kind of the character of the vintage Fender tone there, a little bit more warmth and depth than the Silver 120 or the JC Roland 120. Here's the neck pickup, middle again, and bridge pickup. So that's my Blackface, and then I think I didn't show you the configuration. So that's a 7 on the gain, 4 or so on the bass, a 4 on the middle, and a 7 on the treble, and about a 6 or a 7 on the volume there. And then I'll show you the AD here, my custom tone on the AD. And this is about an 8 there on the gain, 6 or so on the bass, 6 on the middle, 7 or 8 on the treble, and a 6 or 7 on the volume. So this is the 80. Start with the middle pickup. We'll go back to the neck pickup position. the tone on the 80 clean, and then finally my custom on the matchless DC, which is right down here. And I'll show you that tone. So I got about a 6 or so on the gain, about a 6 or so on the bass, 7 on the middle, 7 on the treble, and about an 8 or so on the volume. So here's the middle pickup position. Let's do the neck pickup position. The bridge pickup position. So that's the matchless DC. It's got a little bit more character and warmth on it. So I think the biggest advice I want to give here is to kind of just play around with the different settings on these different amps. Hopefully this gives you kind of a good idea of the baseline of what to expect on these amp models. And you can kind of play around with the tones from there. Experiment with all the different settings. What I like to do is kind of start from left to right with those knobs. Where I set the gain first, and then I play with the bass a little bit, then I move up to the middle, and then I always work my way back. After I've made an adjustment towards the right, I'll go back and check the left side settings again, and I'll keep tweaking it along the way, and then I'll finally adjust that volume so it sounds just right. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of the different clean amp models. I'm going to also do some more videos on the the glassy and the crunchy and the high gain and all those guys too. I'll do those a little bit later on, but hopefully this gives you a good sense of how these different amp models work and maybe how you can use them for your own sound. So hope this helps and enjoy. Thanks.